Welcome to the Opportunity Podcast, where entrepreneurs come to learn from real buyers, sellers, and industry experts on the lesser-known growth opportunities to build their online business empires. We'll uncover tactics veteran online business entrepreneurs have used to build, buy, flip, and sell their way towards personal wealth. Sit back, grab a coffee, and get ready to uncover hidden growth secrets. The Opportunity Podcast starts now.
Welcome back to the Opportunity Podcast, your go-to resource for hidden growth opportunities throughout online business. For those familiar and new to the podcast, I'm your host, Sarah Nedicombe. If you're new and tuning in and didn't hear previously, moving forward for a while, the podcast is going to be hosted by just me. We're getting into conference season, and Brandon is off making all the conferences we're joining in on go over smoothly. I miss having him on the show, of course, but I know he's out there creating a great conference experience for our team and conference goers, so I won't be so sad for so long. Best of luck to Brandon. I know he's doing great work. Okay, so about today's episode. In this episode, we have Mike Begg, co-founder and CMO of AMZ Advisors. AMZ Advisors have helped customers with all elements of advertising, from content to video to data analysis. Mike has helped manage over $20 million in ad spend for customers, and it's this experience that allows him to give us a good look at the advertising strategies that really work for Amazon and beyond. Mike goes over how to create great content that converts and what you need to understand about Amazon's algorithms and the challenges that most online sellers face when trying to create an advertising campaign that's going to convert. We also dig into how to outmaneuver brands with bigger advertising budget in your niche and how to keep ahead of all of Amazon's changes. But I don't want to give away too much just yet, so let's dig in the interview and see what Mike has to share. And then stay tuned at the end of the episode where I'll provide some extra insight by answering some common questions online business builders have. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Opportunity Podcast. So we're really excited to have Mike Begg on with us today, co-founder of AMZ Advisors. So thanks so much for coming on, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Sarah. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today and tell you a little bit more about my story and what I do.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to get into your story. You've got such an interesting background, so let's just go ahead and kick it off. For those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and what it looks like today.
Sure. So as Sarah mentioned, I'm the co-founder of AMZ Advisors. Before that, I was actually working in a corporate job. And then I started kind of with the entrepreneurial process. I was never one that kind of grew up being an entrepreneur. I never had a lemonade stand. I never was shoveling snow. I'm from Connecticut, so there was a lot of snow. I really didn't like that. And I graduated college, went and worked in the corporate world for Deloitte, then moved into real estate development for Sears. From there, I kind of saw the writing on the wall with retail, and I saw the opportunities coming out in Amazon. And myself and my partners started launching brands on the Amazon platform, selling products, doing whatever we could to make money. From there, we leveraged our experience and our knowledge to help brands and manufacturers sell more on the Amazon platform. And that's what we do today with AMZ Advisors.
Awesome. I know you mentioned co-founders there. I was just reading about you guys online. And basically, you partnered with your friends, from school and were able to keep in touch and, develop what you have today.
Yeah, pretty much. We were actually, one of my partners I was living with, we had an apartment together in Stamford, Connecticut before we kind of started this. The other one, we lived close by. We were always hanging out, always talking about things. And the one thing that was kind of common between all of us is that we really hated our jobs and we really hated working for other people. So that's kind of what led us to explore a little bit more about hey, maybe we can start a business for ourselves. Maybe we can change the situation from having a job we hate to doing something that we love. So that's kind of what got us started on this journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're definitely in good company on this podcast. And I think, as you know, in the industry as a whole, I think people who gravitate towards online businesses and getting into Amazon, that seems to be one of the initial pushes is, I hate my corporate job, or I hate working in a cubicle. I got to find another way. So very cool. That's led you to where you are now. You were speaking about finding something that you loved. And I was wondering what you love about Amazon and working with Amazon-based businesses. What really resonates with you?
I think it's more broad than just Amazon. I think e-commerce in general is one of the most interesting things to me. We, coming from my background in retail, where for, 120 years, pretty much retail is dominated by big brands, big box stores. grocery stores, inline malls, whatever you want to say. Like that's where people had to go shopping. And now e-commerce has opened up so many opportunities for people that didn't have these massive investments or these massive advertising budgets that a lot of well-established brands have, to kind of just get in there. It's almost like guerrilla warfare, just start taking market share from these other people. It really levels the playing field for people. Like anyone that has a good product idea or has a good brand idea or is good at marketing, whatever it is, can build a brand for themselves in e-commerce and be successful. Amazon is obviously one big sales channel for that. But I mean, there's so many other ways through Shopify, other platforms like Etsy, Walmart, really depending on what your product and your brand and your interest is. So yeah, I just love that e-commerce has really leveled the playing field for everyone and given a lot more people the opportunity to be entrepreneurs and build something a lot larger than they probably would have been if the internet didn't exist.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like that's something I believe personally. It's kind of like a more democratically available version of entrepreneurship, unlike anything that we've had before. And like you said, there's more people getting in. And yes, it can create almost like a guerrilla warfare level of competition, but it's almost for the better because you're not having major stakeholders running the show. You get kind of anybody and everybody from all corners being able to have a piece of this. And that's what makes it so cool and so innovative and so exciting. So yeah, I love your take. And I feel like, kind of shifting gears into what you're working on every day. I wanted to know your take on this, maybe just sort of defining things here. What in your mindset is great content and marketing strategy on a platform like Amazon?
Yeah, that's a good point. There's definitely a challenge. I mean, Amazon itself is a platform that doesn't really, in a lot of ways, lend itself to brands to really build the following, build brand loyalty within there. They control so much of the customer data, and that's one of the big challenges. But there is a lot of things that you can do to really help your brand and your product stand out. I mean, one of them obviously is going to be off-platform efforts. So, where you're posting your content, where you're trying to engage with customers, and then creating the experience for them on those social media channels, on your website, wherever they're finding you now. Creating that similar type of experience on the Amazon platform. So creating content that matches your branding colors, your branding guidelines, creating storefronts on Amazon that are similar to your storefronts on other platforms. All of that helps create kind of a unified brand image. And I think that's extremely important from the content side. And then from there, obviously with Amazon, it's the SEO piece, figuring out how do I get the best keywords in my listings and the best places to help Amazon index me the best, and then scaling advertising. So there's obviously a lot there. And like, I could probably talk for an hour about all of those topics, but the general idea is like, make your listings, make your products on Amazon look as good as your other platforms, and then figure out how to start building out your sales funnel on Amazon to maximize your brand reach within the Amazon platform. And later on, you can leverage other powerful tools within Amazon, such as the DSP network, to actually retarget these people that have purchased from you on Amazon, continuing to grow your brand and driving more sales.
Yeah, I think some of my follow-up questions just throughout this interview probably hit on a lot of those points. So, hopefully you do get the chance to talk about them. One thing in particular that I saw on your site and I really liked, you mentioned the A9 algorithm. I remember a while back having to do like a piece of content that involves that. And it was interesting kind of getting into the weeds on it and realizing that there weren't always a lot of clear guidelines or clear answers. And yet it's something that obviously a lot of people have had to face or to figure out how to succeed in. So I was curious, what do most people struggle to understand about the A9 algorithm, and how do you create copy and listings that work within the algorithm?
Yeah, so I would say the things that they struggle to understand the most are the factors. I mean, you're right. There's no clear answer on what exactly is within the Amazon algorithm. From our experience, the two most important factors are sales velocity and sales history. And then part of that is obviously conversion rates. So how well you're converting. We think of Amazon and the A9 algorithm, it's essentially a giant flywheel. So the products that are ranked at the top of page one are the products that have had the most sales on whatever the search term the customer is searching for, has the best conversion rate on whatever that keyword is. That's actually how you get the Amazon's Choice badge. And then whoever has been selling the longest, because if you've been selling the longest, you're going to have a good sales history. You're going to hopefully have a good consistent conversion rate over time. And all of that's going to help you rank higher on the platform. So that's what I think most brands that are like kind of new to the platform don't really understand. When it comes to actually like scaling now, it's thinking about, all right, if I know that those are the factors I need to impact the most. How do I drive more conversions on the top search terms on the platform? So, that's first going through and doing a little research, figuring out what search terms for my product or for my category or whatever I'm selling is the most popular search terms that consumers are using. How do I craft my content to talk towards those search terms? And then how can I use my advertising to drive more sales or even use off-platform traffic to drive more sales on that particular search term? So all of that is kind of how you're going to get that flywheel going. And that's how you're really going to take advantage and leverage the A9 algorithm the most to grow your sales on the platform.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. Something came to my mind as you were talking about that, and you're talking about what ends up ranking at the top. And a couple conversations I had recently with, different entrepreneurs on Amazon and in the e-com space. In Amazon in particular, they were talking about this trend of, everybody's trying to emulate who's at the top and who's, let's say, mastered the algorithm or is in Amazon's favor. But that doesn't always mean that whoever's ranking right there at the top is always doing the right thing from a marketing perspective or a listing perspective. I don't know if that resonates with you or you have any thoughts on that, but I'd be curious to get your take.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's just people that are lucky. Like I said, sales history has a big impact in it. Sometimes people have just been there for long enough. They've been driving enough sales. The category is not as competitive as other categories. So a lot of times, there are people that don't do the fundamentals well, but are still at the top of the page. And that's where the big opportunity is to really move in there and kind of either create a niche brand or create a niche product and steal market share. That's a huge opportunity there for a lot of brands. So I think it's kind of common. It really depends on what you're looking through in the platform. But the biggest things that I see them not doing is obviously doing the content correctly, leveraging the different types of content you have available within the product listings. Usually product images are one of the main things that they don't focus on or they're not optimized well enough for. Creating a good product image set for your product is one of the best things that can lead to higher conversions for your product. So, a good example of this is mobile. If you're shopping and you use the Amazon app, the first thing you see is your product images. All the bullet points, everything else you write within your listing, that's all for SEO. That's really all for Amazon's internal system to kind of place you. But at the end of the day, if people are shopping on their phone, the first thing they see is the images. You need to make sure that your main selling points or the main features that your product has or the main benefits that your consumer is going to get from having this product is right there where they can see it. And that's, I think, where most sellers are not doing the right thing. A lot of them just have, generic product photos. And again, they still might be at the top of page one out of pure luck. But when you really start focusing on that is when you really start seeing better returns and you start growing faster on the platform.
Oh, it's such an interesting take. And we haven't had a lot of, I suppose, guests come on and talk about optimizing for mobile, so that it's a great perspective. I mean, I'm curious when you're talking about those opportunities that are available and, seeing somebody not doing the right thing, and that's where there's kind of potential. Maybe this is me being an outside observer. My sort of take is like that window to find those opportunities are growing smaller and smaller. And maybe tell me otherwise. I could be wrong because obviously Amazon is just such a vast place. But from an outsider and everything I'm hearing, I keep hearing how incredibly competitive it is and how difficult it is to actually find that almost white space in a way. So I don't know. I mean, you obviously work within Amazon much more closely than I do. So curious what your take is.
Yeah, I mean, I think the days of where you could just create a product, throw it up, and start selling immediately are gone. It definitely is a lot more competitive now. There's constantly categories evolving, though, as consumer preferences change. So, there are opportunities to get in there early if you are on top of trends or on top of what people are following. But it is short. There are people that are very good at product development, very good at product design, that have their own factories, especially there's a lot of sellers from Eastern Asia that can really leverage that and kind of get going quickly with products. But the first mover doesn't always have the advantage. I think if we look at a lot of products that have launched, not just within Amazon, but in general, I guess a good example of this is MySpace. MySpace came out, it was the first social network, one of the first social networks, the first one that became commercially popular, but just because they were first didn't mean that they were going to be the best. And then we saw Facebook and other ones come because they iterated on what was already there. So I think iterations is another big part of it. Like I said, it's not going to be easy to get into a lot of these marketplaces. You're going to need to invest money, particularly on advertising, to really get the sales going. But if you have a good product, better product than, the first mover in the category, there's still a good opportunity for you to really start dominating in that category over time.
Yeah, that's a great take. And I like what you said there about, being able to follow trends. Just other conversations happening recently about how, Amazon can seem like a place that's so fast moving, but sometimes in some ways there's a lot of like sort of stagnancy in it with it. People, they figured out what they think it takes to make money on Amazon, and then that's the way it is. And of course, there's enough brands out there who are iterating, to stay ahead because they have to. But a surprising amount of the marketplace is still kind of not really catching on to the trends, as you're saying. So it's good advice to actually, if you want to be a seller that is trying to be forward thinking, look around at what the people are doing and see what trends you could be capitalizing on.
Yeah. And I think one of the other big trends there is that more and more sellers are moving away from kind of that one-off sale. Obviously, like customer lifetime value is becoming more and more important on the platform because the cost of acquisition is becoming more and more expensive with the cost of advertising, with all the competition you have in the marketplace. So a lot of sellers are shifting more to consumables where you can acquire a customer once. Hopefully they like your product and they keep coming back to buy it more. The cost of acquisition can be higher because the expected customer lifetime value is going to be longer. So then that's just, a math problem of how much can I afford to acquire a customer for, knowing that they're going to come back and, purchase from me for a certain period of time. I think the trend is really going in that direction. But I mean, yeah, it's still not easy to do a consumable or a reusable product.
Yeah, I like that insight. I definitely have a few questions related to that. I think before we get there, I wanted to make sure we didn't pass this by. I want to talk about video because I know that's something that you work within, and video for Amazon has always kind of fascinated me. What does it actually take to create good video content for Amazon? Because I know it's probably not the same as the rest of the wider world of how people market with video. So what are the key elements to create great video content for Amazon listings?
So yeah, I think there's definitely different types of video that we can talk about within the Amazon space. One of them is obviously on the listing page. The other is the new Amazon video ads. And then the third would be video placements on the storefront. When we're talking about each of those placements, the type of video you're probably going to be using for them is different. So a video ad, customer attention span's low. You want to be able to capture them quickly with a video ad, capture their interest. The focus is more going to be on, I don't want to say doing something dramatic, but doing something eye-catching that's going to get them interested in learning more so you can get them to the page. The videos on the page, those are going to be more focused on, how the product works, what the product benefits are, how consumers are using it to benefit their lives. That is more of a video that's more instructional, I guess I would say, than more eye-catching, just showing off the product, showing the benefits, things like that. And then the storefront, that's more of the opportunity to build brand awareness. So is there some unique story behind your brand that you're trying to tell? Is there, some other selling feature that makes your brand particularly interesting? Like, a good example would be, I don't know, something like Tom's Shoes, where you're donating, a pair of shoes for every pair you sell, whatever it may be. That's really something that you can leverage on the brand side, on the storefront, and really start, trying to build more customer interest in what your brand's doing. So the different video placements all have different goals. So there's a lot of different ways to use it within the platform. Like I said, the video ads, those are going to be shorter videos. For us, the ideal video that's been working the best on video ads is like 10 to 15 seconds. And customer views are actually pretty short on those video ads. So literally, if you don't catch them immediately, they're not coming to your page. On the listing, we shoot for about a minute. A lot of times we'll use testimonials on there. So that's another good way to kind of show the benefits of the product to the customers that are searching. And then, the storefront, that's where you can really get creative and, really tell your brand story, use a lot of great video design, a lot of other good elements. So yeah, that's kind of the different ways to use video within Amazon.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I come from a film background myself. And so getting into this realm in this industry and seeing how video is being used was always kind of fascinating to me because it is a lot different. I mean, and these are different constraints, right? Having to capture attention in 10 to 15 seconds like that, there's no pressure, slight pressure. But, I like that how you laid it out, that there's a different framework for those different styles of videos, and leaning on something like testimonials can actually make a huge difference for you on your page. And I think those are things that probably some sellers are a little bit scared to implement. They see like video cost and like, man, I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing in this world. I'm going to rely on PPC and that's it, which is fine. But, it might be missing some good opportunities there, which I'm sure you have to face all the time. Probably a little bit of maybe hesitancy when you're working with sellers. Like, are they going to be on board with some of these new growth strategies? Can they see the potential ROI down the road?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of it. It's like obviously having that conversation with our clients and telling them, look, like we're not doing this for you to spend money. We're doing this for you to invest in your brand. We think, you're going to get whatever it is, a boost in conversion rates or a better customer lifetime value out of doing this. And we really can measure that from the ways we've implemented it with other clients. So using previous historical data that we have or that any agency has is kind of an advantage that a lot of one-off sellers don't have, is they don't know what the return is going to be, versus working with an agency or working with someone that's done it before can kind of tell you based on what the previous results have been.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess that kind of leads me to my next question. In what areas do Amazon sellers seem to have the most difficulty in their advertising campaigns? What do you see as like a common pain point?
Oh, wow.
That's a big one.
Yeah, there could be so many different things there. I think one of the things that Amazon sellers, or I would say less sophisticated Amazon sellers, really struggle with is just using all the new powerful advertising features that are coming out. Amazon is frequently rolling out new tools for sellers to use within advertising, but a lot of them have become so married to using, sponsored products or like sponsored brands or some of the more basic ones that have been around for longer and they're more accustomed to, instead of trying to adapt these new placements and take advantage of them. So, for example, one of the unique advertising features that Amazon's just rolled out is a referral bonus for people driving traffic from outside platforms to Amazon. So Amazon will actually give you a 10% credit back on your referral if you drive traffic to Amazon using Amazon Attribution, which is a program that Amazon rolled out last year or the year before. Actually, I think it was the year before. Anyway, so there's constantly new features that Amazon's trying to push on sellers. There's more powerful tools like Amazon DSP, where you can actually do a lot more audience retargeting. You can actually create custom lookalike audiences through Amazon DSP. You can also send traffic through DSP to your Amazon pages or to your own website. So there's more and more powerful tools that Amazon is giving sellers access to. And I think the less sophisticated ones are probably a little slower to adapt them. And that obviously creates more advantages or more opportunities for people that either have more money to invest, are not as afraid to take chances, or are just willing to test new things and see what the outcome will be for them.
Yeah, I've got another question for you here in a couple of minutes about, I like that you put it in perspective what's happening with these less sophisticated sellers. Definitely want to hear what your take is on the more sophisticated ones. But, while we're on the topic of advertising, I saw that you guys have managed 20 million in ad spend. And so I was really curious about that. What was that journey like? What surprised you the most along the way? And what did you learn?
I think, we've learned a lot. We've probably made more mistakes than most people and had more failures. And we apologize to the clients that are unfortunately the ones that had to realize that. But I think the biggest thing we've seen over time is just the competition that's going into the marketplace. I mean, especially the difference between pre-COVID and post-COVID, it's pretty stark. I've seen CPCs, cost per clicks, rise for most of our clients about 40% since COVID's happened, which is just going to say how much more money is being poured into investment in Amazon ads. So a lot of massive brands that maybe didn't pay as much attention to direct it to consumer retail, like Johnson & Johnson, Clorox, Procter & Gamble, all those large companies that had so many products or were primarily focused on retail distribution or their wholesale business to distributors, have shifted a lot to focusing more on D2C. And those are companies that have, billion-dollar ad budgets, like massive amounts of money. And that gives, that's difficult to compete with. I mean, there's still a lot of opportunities for sellers that are nimble, that are willing to adopt new things, that have advantages over these, larger brands when it comes to actually getting things started. But when it comes to not being afraid to lose money or to take a risk or, to try something new, these brands have a huge leg up because they lose $100,000 on, some ad type trying to test something out. That's like a drop in the bucket for them. Like most other sellers lose $100,000, they're going bankrupt. So right. Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing, is just seeing the competition coming in it's kind of scary. I think it's shifting more and more towards the brands that are able to invest, that are able to have a following, that are becoming household names, and that consumers are continuing to, buy over and over. Those are the ones that are going to be the long-term winners on Amazon.
Yeah, you teeing me up perfectly for where I wanted to go next, because I wanted to talk about these bigger brands. In a way, you kind of set this up, but let's go ahead and sort of tee it up anyway. Let's talk about what their goals and strategies are, these large e-commerce brands, how it might look a little bit different on Amazon, and ultimately, what could normal sellers, people at every single level, learn by looking at their needs?
Yeah. So I think what a lot of these bigger brands are trying to do is they're just trying to acquire as many customers as possible. For them, just getting their product, turning their inventory over is, the biggest thing for them. They can't have things aging. They need to turn inventory into cash. And while Amazon may not be that profitable of a channel for them because their margins are low on these products, or they're using Amazon vendor programs, selling to Amazon, their costs are getting squeezed, there's a benefit to them just having the brand placement within Amazon to keep people aware of their brand. I think one of the big things that I remember from growing up, I don't even know where it was. There was just some ad I saw that was like, I saw it every week too. Might have been in church or something. It was like, if you're not advertising, you're dying. Like your brand's dying. And like, that's literally true. That's what these big companies think. If they're not advertising, if they're not there, if they're not being seen, people are losing interest. And I think coming from a big brand like Sears, where the focus was so much on retail and online wasn't paid attention to, that's a prime example of not staying, not advertising, not staying where customer attention span is. And I think that's where a lot of Amazon sellers can really start learning from what the big brands are doing. Capturing customer attention is extremely important. And again, this is just evolution over time. New channels are coming out like TikTok, massive opportunity to promote your product, to get your product out there. Social media, and before that, there's influencer marketing on social media, which is still very popular. There's more and more ways to keep your product in front of consumer eyes. And I think that's one of the most important things, because if literally people have such short attention spans right now. If you're not constantly showing your product, or they're not constantly engaging with your content, or constantly, seeing you somewhere, it's very likely that they're probably going to fall off and they're going to churn. And they're either, the next time they need to go buy this product, they're not going to care who it's from, or, they're not going to remember what your brand name is. So yeah, keeping in front of consumer attention, I think, is probably the biggest thing that smaller sellers can learn from a lot of the bigger brands.
Yeah, it's great advice, because it's so easy to start getting jealous. You're looking at the top and it's like, well, they have, they've got the hundreds of millions of dollars to spend on advertising. They can do what they want, but it's like, they're still very large machines at the end of the day. They're kind of like slow moving beings, exactly. Maybe dinosaurs. It's like, you have the chance to be that quick moving, keep going with the dinosaur thing. I guess a velociraptor, I don't know. Jurassic Park is coming to mind. But you get to be that quick mover on the ground and actually seizing opportunities that they're just too big to see. They can't capitalize on that. They can't necessarily jump on TikTok tomorrow, because they're going to have to run that through the chain of command and have a whole large strategy where it's like, okay, yeah, it sucks when you've got either just yourself or maybe a small team if you're lucky, but it's a blessing in disguise if you know how to use it, if you know how to be nimble and make it work to your advantage.
Yeah. I mean, we've worked with billion-dollar brands before. We've seen how slow it actually takes them to make a decision. I mean, basic decisions can take 2-3 months sometimes, just because every stakeholder needs to have their say in something. So a lot of smaller brands and a lot of e-commerce native brands are way more nimble. The business owners want something, they make a decision, or whoever's in charge of the sales channel makes a decision, or whatever it may be. And that's a massive advantage. That is a huge advantage that small sellers have compared to the big sellers.
Yeah. Well, it's great. Well, I hope, whoever's listening to this and, they're sad about being a smaller seller. It's like, no. Trust me. You can make your decision in less than 2 or 3 months. You're good. Just go make it. Go make it happen. This is kind of a question related to, you and your experience. We're talking a lot about the normal challenges that sellers might face on Amazon, but what about the challenges that, you have faced while managing advertising and just all these varied needs of businesses across different e-com spaces? What kind of challenges have you personally faced, and how have you been able to overcome them?
I think the biggest challenges, particularly with Amazon, is just the way that different categories are handled by Amazon. Every category can be different. There can be different flags, different warnings, different reasons you can get your listing suspended. There's probably, I don't know if we've found every single way, but getting products suspended for having adult keywords in them, getting products suspended for having a pesticide related keyword in there.
Oh, yeah.
There's literally so many different things that you can do that really causes a red flag with Amazon. And, it's a lot of troubleshooting. It's like, all right, well, Amazon shut down my listing. So now what's the problem? Seller support's not helpful. So a lot of times it's troubleshooting on your own, or literally waiting for seller support to get back to you, tracking down documents, working with brands, trying to make sure that they are following all their regulations that they need to be selling on the Amazon platform. Because things are complicated as well. There are a lot of things that some smaller sellers would not be aware of. Like, for example, food products. Like if you're selling a food product, there's a lot of testing you need to do for your food product to make sure that it's shelf stable, to make sure that there's no bacterial issues, to make sure that your best buy date is accurate. And there's a lot of things that you can get shut down and flagged for. So I think one of the cool things, it's cool and it's a challenge, but one of the biggest challenges we've had is kind of staying on top of that and, resolving these problems with a lot of brands. But at the same time, it's taught us a lot about other industries. And that's what's really cool about it, is that I know more. Like, I can come into a brand right now and I can probably consult them on like half of the things they need to do to make sure that they're, legally running, to make sure that they're not going to run into regulatory issues, that their fulfillment's going to be set up the right way for the type of products that they have, and make things so much smoother and actually provide a better experience to them, because I'm way more valuable and I'm way more helpful to them. So definitely a challenge dealing with all of these little wrinkles of Amazon for all the different product categories. But at the same time, it's always a learning experience.
Yeah, I like that, because Amazon deals with everything. I don't know. Amazon's like the encyclopedia of e-commerce. If you start to know Amazon, you kind of know a bit about anything and everything at all times. So how wonderful that even after all those challenges, and I suppose in a way it's the badge of honor of getting blocked on Amazon, because it's like you haven't really sold on Amazon, right, until the ban handlers come down on you for no reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able to walk away from that and be like, sure, it's challenging, but here we are. I'm actually so much better for it, which is great. It kind of relates to what I wanted to ask you next, because obviously you learned a lot along the way and you've given a lot of great advice in the show. But one thing that I see persistently in the space is there's always like a presence of really bad advice, or, let's say a strategy or belief that you're told about succeeding on somewhere like Amazon, but it's just outdated. It's just not great. And so I'm wondering what you see that is still popular, even though it really shouldn't be. And what would be your counter to that kind of popular bad belief?
Okay. I think with the Amazon platform, one of the things we see a lot that really doesn't make sense anymore is the way that people are gathering reviews. So back in the day, you could give away free units, get reviews from people, it would be fine. So Amazon actually banned unverified reviews, I think in 2017, I think it was. People kind of still tried to figure out with it. Amazon sued people for getting these fake reviews on their listings. I think the US government actually tried to sue Amazon for this as well. I don't know if the case is still ongoing, but for misleading consumers about what's actually on the platform. And this is still an ongoing issue. The current trend right now is people having other people purchase their product and then giving them a gift card or refunding them on PayPal. So that is a lot harder for Amazon to track. But at the end of the day, it's really not worth the risk. So if Amazon catches you blatantly violating their terms of service, it may be difficult for them to catch you. But if they somehow manage to do it in the future, there's a very good chance that your listings are going to be shut down, your account's going to be suspended, and you're going to be banned from selling on Amazon. So when it comes to something that is a practice that used to work a lot and that people are still doing, that's probably it. But the risk reward of getting banned from Amazon forever, it's not worth it, in my opinion. Like, reviews are important. There's other ways to build reviews for your product. Doing shady things like this is probably not going to work for you in the long run. Maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe you won't get shut down. Maybe you won't have any issues for years. But if that does happen, you're pretty much screwed when it comes to Amazon. Like, you better know how to sell outside of Amazon at that point. So
yeah, no, it's such relevant advice, because it's definitely something, we've run into. If we have businesses listed on our marketplace, we try to be very careful about disclosing anything, that could have been remotely black hat. And, it's interesting because I think there's some sellers who knew at some point, they could do something. It probably weren't always caught up with I guess, the trend of knowing like when they couldn't do something. And I think that happens in the space all the time. And I'm sure there's a lot of people still kind of, selling shady advice where it's like, yeah, you can succeed on Amazon in this record amount of time by doing my super secret tactic and not really disclosing that the super secret tactic is totally black hat and will get you banned forever and, potentially in a lot of trouble. So that's why I like to ask that question, because I feel like there's a lot of great advice in the space, but we also need to sort of disband some of the bad advice, because I think there'll be somebody listening to this who go, crap, I didn't know. I thought I could do that. I was going to do that. Thank God I'm not going to do that now. So,
for sure.
Probably save someone some trouble.
Yeah. I would just say too, a lot of that stuff is just like floating around in the Facebook groups. Like if you really want advice on something, you may as well reach out to an agency or, to like an expert seller or someone where you can have like a one-on-one conversation and actually voice your concerns. Like that's the best way, in my opinion, to get the advice that's not going to screw you over, because, coming from the position of an agency owner, if any of my clients got shut down or if anyone I knew got shut down because of advice I gave them, that would be terrible. Like that would be massively terrible. People on, Facebook groups don't care, or Reddit groups, like it's whatever. Like, oh yeah, this is what I do. Like try it.
Yeah. I mean,
there's no face-to-face interaction. There's no engagement there. So yeah.
Exactly. Not to mention there could be just bad actors, who are like, let me, just put all the worst advice out there and see who takes it and just kind of destroy people in the process. And unfortunately it does happen, because obviously I think there is kind of like an unspoken capital in online business. And that's that, in my eyes, it's like dream capital. If you can make it on Amazon, you can have your dream of being location independent or financially independent and all of these things. And so I think when you're in an industry that has that power of like kind of the ultimate dream on the other side, people do almost whatever it takes to get there, including probably not always doing their due diligence on where the advice is coming from. So, to circle back to your point, actually going through and finding who in the world knows what they're talking about, which is a very overwhelming thing to discern when you're new, worthwhile, 100% worthwhile. You don't want to lose out on that dream over something stupid. So closing out here, I usually like to wrap this up and ask people about the future with a caveat that I understand the future of Amazon, like totally cloudy and just who knows, right? But what's your best take on what you think the future of Amazon will be like, and what do you think is going to be required to keep on top of Amazon's growth and changes?
Yeah. So the biggest trend or the biggest shift, the direction that Amazon's going in is it's starting to favor brands more and more. So individual sellers that don't really have their brand registry done, that aren't actually building an engagement and a following, that's an area where they really need to work on it more. The editorial recommendation placements, the new features that are always being rolled out for brand registered owners, the new targeting features within sponsored brand advertising, new features within storefronts, Amazon posts, all of that's catering more and more to building that brand experience within the Amazon platform. So I think that's generally one of the trends that we're going to continue to see going in that direction. If there were other things, I would say, I think fulfillment is going to continue to get more and more important, where we've seen that not just on Amazon, we've seen that on Walmart, Target, Flipkart, a lot of other platforms that consumers are purchasing from and trying to get the products to the end consumer as fast as possible. I think we'll continue to see shorter and shorter delivery times from these big platforms, which also makes it harder and harder for brands that don't have, the same distribution capabilities to get the product there faster. Because when a consumer realizes that they can get the product same day or within the same hour or whatever in the future, they're going to have that expectation from every seller. And if you're not able to deliver on that, it's going to make your product less competitive to what else is on the market.
All right. I like that. It's all good advice. Like I said, I know it's hard to look ahead, but I think those are some strong pillars that people can lean on despite not knowing how Amazon's going to move in the future. So, well, this has been awesome, Mike. We close these things out with just kind of like a rapid fire little section of questions. So if you're down for that, we can kick that off.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool. So first question, what's the best hidden growth opportunity for advertising on Amazon?
Amazon DSP by far. Not many small sellers are using it. Big brands are using it, but the value's there for everybody.
Awesome. Okay. And what tools or resources can help online business owners grow their business?
Tools that help with automation, Slack, Zapier, those are massively important for us. We run a lot of automations through that, and it can really help a lot of business owners grow faster.
Great. Okay. Final one. This is a personal one. What has been your funniest moment working as an online entrepreneur?
Oh, geez.
It's a tough one always.
Yeah. I think one of my funniest moments kind of just being in the Amazon space actually was when we were kind of starting our business. Myself, my two partners, we all moved down to Mexico. We moved to Playa del Carmen. And when we were starting as sellers, before we started the agency, we were kind of learning how to sell from Greg Mercer, who's the founder of Jungle Scout. Then myself and one of my partners are sitting at a cafe, and Greg Mercer walks into the cafe there in Playa del Carmen, and we were like, what the fuck? What's going on? That was probably one of the coolest moments. I don't know if it's funny, but it was pretty awesome for us.
I love that. I think maybe it's a Playa del Carmen thing, because I just went for the first time in the winter and just headed down there completely alone. And I was walking to my hotel first day. All of a sudden I look over and there's two guys from our sales team there. And like, I had just no idea. And I was kind of like, Jim? And they're just eating tacos and they're like, Sarah? So it seems like it's an interestingly small world in the online space. You might run into someone from your own company without realizing it, or Craig Mercer, if you're lucky. So pretty cool that you had that experience.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. And Playa del Carmen is a great place to meet online entrepreneurs. So,
yeah, totally agree. Well, Mexico in general is pretty awesome. I can't wait to get back. Well, cool. Well, this has been a lot of fun being able to talk to you and learn a little bit more about your story. Thank you again for your time and digging into kind of anything and everything Amazon with us today.
Thank you again for having me, Sarah. I really hope what I said resonates with some of your audience. And again, if anyone needs any help, feel free to reach out. We're always glad to talk to people.
Awesome. We'll put your link in the show notes for anyone interested. And yeah, we'll be in touch soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey everyone. Now that we wrapped this episode and learned about creating ad strategies that work, I wanted to cover a common question about buying, running, and selling online businesses. So today's question is, how can I create an email list for my Amazon brand? And so couple things with this. As we know, Amazon's notorious for putting limits in place on customer data or accessing said customer data when you're an online seller. And it makes creating a real relationship with customers difficult. So one of the best ways to create a relationship with customers is creating an email list. But while it's an amazing way to get control of your data and create a solid connection with customers, there's this slight issue. How do you do that when you sell primarily on Amazon and Amazon doesn't give you access to that data? So one thing we advise is to venture off platform. One of the best ways to do this is to build your own site. You can either build a site from scratch for your business or acquire one, of course. So a lot of people, when you see an Amazon brand with a website, it's usually a branded domain. And oftentimes that branded domain has links to the products in Amazon, and it's more or less a holding place to direct people back to Amazon. And that's fine, but it's not harnessing the power of the site itself. So if that's you, or if that might be you, you can start creating SEO-driven content focused on solving customer needs to drive traffic or offer free products like downloadable guides in exchange for email addresses. And from there, you start building out your email list. Or you can cut through all that initial work, which doesn't always guarantee a good list, by the way, when you're building from scratch, and buy an existing content site in your niche that has an email list already. With an existing email list, they're used to hearing from you already, or from the business. So they're going to hear about new product offerings, and you basically already have a shoe in when you want to start promoting your own products. That list gives you extra protection, of course, as is an extra traffic resource within your control, obviously, which most Amazon brands lack. So it's either buying or building off Amazon is the best way to create one of those coveted email lists. Hopefully that answers your question. Hope that you guys have gained some valuable insight on the opportunities that digital assets offer. Click the link in the description or visit empireflippers.com/marketplace to learn more about the listings currently live on our platform. And if you enjoy this episode, be sure to leave a review and subscribe to this podcast for more great content that'll be released soon. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, to the Opportunity Podcast. I'm looking forward to having you back next week to hear from your fellow entrepreneurs and online experts.